What's up guys, Tearless here. I'm back inside the Dream Grove with part 2 of our 2 video series looking at balanced druids, the changes to balanced druids in World of Warcraft Legion. This video will be looking into the PvE talents and PvP talents of the balanced druid. I have been sitting here for a long time, and if you were watching the video earlier, I mentioned how the moon cycle would not change if you were sitting for a very long time, and as you can see here, I'm still on full moon as opposed to new moon, which is the start of the cycle. Now before we get into looking into the talents, there's something that I forgot to show you guys in the last video. I mentioned that Teleport Moonglade is gone. Instead there is Dreamwalk, and this is how you technically get to the Dream Grove. But I'm going to show you this and show you how potent it is in terms of being able to access the different aspects and areas around Azeroth. So this ports you to the Emerald Dreamway, so you're in the Emerald Dream. And if I pull up the map here, the Dream Grove is on this map here. But as you can see, I've also got Mount Hyjal, Hinterlands, Duskwood, Moonglade, Faralos, and Grizzly Hills. Literally every corner of Azeroth I can now reach through one of these portals. So druids now have a significant ability to quickly traverse all of Azeroth and get to where they need to in order to, just for fast travel's sakes, they have it through that spell. So, with that being said, let's head back to the Dream Grove, and we will take a look at the talents for a balanced druid in World of Warcraft Legion. So, I'm going to pull up the talents here. We're going to look at the PvE talents first. First up on the list is Force of Nature. This is back. It's now in the 15 tier. However, you should know that it is slightly different from the old one. No longer will you be able to have charges at 20 seconds each. Instead, it summons all 3 for a minute, and you have 10 seconds, so it's more of a burst cooldown. If I remember, this is more akin to what it originally was instead of what it is on live currently, so it has been kind of converted back to the old form. Second ability here we have is Warrior of Elune. Your next 2 lunar strikes are now instant cast. That can be very useful in combat, especially in PvP if you're trying to get some damage off and build up your astral power without sacrificing, kind of getting away from the target. And then the third one here is Star-Lord. Your lunar and solar empowerments also reduce the cast time of their affected spells by 8%. A very nice ability to have in your arsenal. In the 30 tier, we have kind of a combination of what used to be the 15 and 30 tiers. We have Renewal here on the left-hand side, which basically is still pretty much the same as it was in on live right now. Heals you for 30% of your maximum health. You have Displacer Beast, which also has not changed, and you have Wild Charge, which also has not changed. All 3 of those abilities are pretty much the same. In the 45 tier, this is the most interesting tier period for druids across the board, and it gives you an affinity. Now, as you noticed, I said all of these abilities, these different abilities like Ferocious Bite, Rejuvenation, were removed from a balanced druid. However, in that video, I did proceed to go ahead and use Thrash, or at least show Thrash and Mangle. And that is because I have a Guardian affinity. You can choose which affinity you want, and it will give you 3 to 4 abilities, and it will also give you their trait. So in this case, it's Thick Hide. For Guardian affinity, I gain 10% reduced damage. I also gain Mangle, Thrash, Iron Fur, which is a new ability coming to Guardian Druids in Warlords of Draenor, in World of Warcraft Legion, and then Frenzied Regeneration. Of course, you could choose some of the others, such as Feral Affinity, increases your movement speed by 15%, and you also get Shred, Rip, Ferocious Bite, and Swipe, and your energy regeneration is increased by 35%, which really has no meaning, too much meaning, I guess, for a balanced druid. And then lastly, there is Restoration Affinity. You gain Isira's Gift, which was an old talent, which allowed you to heal yourself, kind of have a passive heal. That is back. It's not as potent. It's 3% instead of 4%, but it does heal you up every 5 seconds. And you also gain rejuvenation, regrowth, and swift mend. Now, I chose Guardian Affinity, and I'm not gonna lie, each one of these I choose something different. When I'm feral, I actually kind of like having the Balance Affinity, because the Balance Affinity gives you that passive, the new passive that is given to Balance Druid, which is Astral Influence, which increases all of your abilities by 5 yards. So having a feral Druid with a like medium range on all of its abilities is actually pretty nice to have, and I actually really enjoy that. But you can, there's room to choose for all of these. When I play a Guardian Druid, I actually go Restoration Affinity. Do know that when you choose Restoration Affinity, Rejuvenation, Regrowth, and Swift Mend, it should be, you should know, but Rejuvenation, they will all pop you out of Moonkin form. So, uh, yes, they're new. The heals are great to have, better than Healing Touch, but at the same time, it does pop you out of your Guardian form, which is a lot of defensive stats and so forth. And that's part of the reason why I took Guardian Affinity. I can pop into Bear form and get even more damage reduction, and then I have stuff like Iron Fur and Frenzied Regeneration, which Iron Fur is a physical damage reduction, and then Frenzied Regeneration as your heal. So for me, it's kind of a toss-up between these two and which ones you take, but it gives you some interesting combos across all the specs on which one you may take in order to, it kind of fits your playstyle. And I would say for the most part, none of these are going to really affect PvE. Maybe PvEers will take more Guardian Affinity or Restoration Affinity because of the uses they can give to the raid, but otherwise it's not going to be as impactful. On the 60 tier, we have Mighty Bash, which I believe used to be on the 75 tier. It is still the same. Mass Entanglement, and Typhoon, which used to be on the 45 tier. They are both back, and they are both the same. So this tier is a combination of different tiers, and all three of them are the same. On the 75 tier, this used to be the 60 tier, so it has been changed a bit. You have Soul of the Forest, which is essentially exactly the same. Increases the damage bonus from lunar and solar empowerment by an additional 15%. However, the reduces astral power cost of Starfall by 10 is something new to this tier. To this talent specifically, and even though I'm on Stellar Flare at the moment, this is actually my talent of choice for this tier. There is Incarnation, Chosen of Elune. This has changed a little bit. It's an improved Moonkin form that increases the damage of all your spells by 40% and causes your Lunar Strike and Solar Wrath to generate 50% additional astral power. Last 30 seconds, you may shift in and out of this form, in and out of this improved Moonkin form for its duration. It replaces Celestial Alignment. Celestial Alignment is that big damage burst ability that is back in name only, but is completely changed. You could say the same thing about Incarnation, Chosen of Elune, because both of those abilities kind of functioned off of the old Sun and Moon yin-yang system, and that is now gone. The last here is Stellar Flare, and Stellar Flare used to be a level 100 talent, and it's been removed. So, from the level 100 tier, excuse me. It's still here, it's level 100. It does cost 15 astral power now, so that is kind of a hefty cost. It used to cost just mana, I believe, and now it costs 15 astral power. That's kind of why I'm not as keen on it, because it has a cast time, and it costs astral power. And it says Stellar Flare benefits from Starfall's stellar empowerment. The only problem is that you want that Starfall off as much as possible, and if you're having to spend 15 astral power on a Stellar Flare, then it's not as useful. And the reason why you want that Starfall off as much as possible, at least for me, you'll see in a second, and it has to do with some of the upcoming talents. So looking at the 90 tier, we have Shooting Stars. The passive Moonfire and Sunfire damage over time has a 10% chance to call down a falling star, dealing 9,000 astral damage and generating 5 astral power. This happened several times as I was generating astral power before, and I didn't really have a way to explain it except other than it was a talent, and there you can see it right there. Two of those generated another 10, so now I have 13, 3 from the initial Sunfire dot, and then 10 from the two Starfire hits that the shooting star hits that I got there, and there I just got another 20 off of that. So definitely useful to have. Dot spreading is definitely a thing that you can use again in BGs and so forth. As a druid, you dot spread everywhere, and then you just got stars falling everywhere. It's really cool. They've brought in this kind of playstyle of you just kind of bringing the heavens down onto the battlefield, which is a lot of fun. Astral Communion was removed. It has been brought back, and the same as I believe Incarnation and the other abilities that used to work with the Yin and Yang. This one also has had to have a revamp, and its back in name only has been revamped. It's just an instant generate 75 astral power, 1.33 minute cooldown. Pretty nice to have if I didn't enjoy shooting stars so much. Last here is Blessing of the Ancients. It's instant 15-second cooldown. Gain a Blessing of the Ancients, activating or swapping between one of the two beneficial effects. Blessing of Elune increases astral power generated with Solar Wrath and Lunar Strike by 40%, or a Blessing of Anshi. I can't pronounce that. However it's pronounced. The Blessing of Anshi grants 2 astral power every 2.3 seconds. So you may say that you can flip back. I'm going to show this to you. You can flip back and forth between the two based on whether you're in combat or out of combat. So if you're in a raid and you're moving between, I believe what you can do is just flip forms and then have this build up astral power for you. I could be wrong. You may need to be in combat. Yes, you need to be in combat, or else it depletes immediately. But you go ahead and go in combat, and then this is going to continually generate 2 astral power for me consistently while in this form. And I like how that gives this kind of shadowy look as well. And you can flip back and forth between them. And as you can see, I can sit here and use my Lunar Strike, and it will generate more than is expected, a 40% increase, which is very helpful. So even though I really do love shooting stars, this is an unbelievable way to build up your astral power. So unless you are mass dotting the entire world, this is going to be more of what you want in order to build up that astral power. So let me switch back out of that, and we'll look at the 100 tier. Nature's Balance, just like the others, Astral Communion, Incarnation, had to be kind of rebalanced. It used to be a talent, but it is back again. And it aligns the power of moon and stars, causing your Lunar Strike to extend the duration of your Moonfire by 5.4 seconds, and Solar Wrath to extend the duration of your Sunfire by 3.6 seconds. This is extremely close to the way it used to be as a talent in Warlords of Draenor. I think the only change is that it's accommodating for the fact that tooltip mostly changed, accommodating for the fact that Sunfire and Moonfire are no longer the same entity. They're separate entities. You have Stellar Drift, which increases the radius of Starfall by 30%, increases Starfall damage by 20%, and allows you to cast while moving within Starfall's radius. If you play this right, you can be completely mobile, always have Starfall up, and deal tons of damage. So I'm just going to go ahead and play with this here. You're going to see just how large this effect is. But I'm going to go ahead and begin applying the dots all around to these targets. And you're going to see just what we're able to do with it once we actually get enough for a Starfall. And you see the shooting stars are already going up, and then you can see how big this radius is here. Now it's hitting all these targets in the area, and then you continue to keep your Starfalls up and your Sunfires and so forth, and you will almost always be able to keep an indefinite Starfall, or at least keep around an 80% uptime, and then you can cast while this is moving. The only thing I don't like about it is that I wish there was a counter to how long your Starfall will last. However, I'm sure that's something that can be added in through some great add-ons that people will provide surely once the game is released. The last ability here is to look at Fury of Elune. This costs 6 astral power plus 12 per second. 1 minute cooldown. Let's see if I can get out of combat. I have a feeling I'm in combat because of these ones in the back. And I may have to escape here for the time being. Oh, I think that did it. Okay, and I still have my astral power, so let me go ahead and build my astral power up again with a full launch of this right here. Oh, I'm in combat. Hang on. I didn't even switch yet. Let's move out of combat, and then I'll be able to show this to you. This is a pretty, it's a pretty powerful talent, I should say. So go ahead and launch my meteor there, and then we're gonna go ahead and oh, it's already down there. And we're gonna go ahead and launch it, and its actual target reticle. So I'm gonna go ahead and launch it. You're gonna see it's just a beam of light coming down, fire. Really cool looking. I don't see this being used much in PvP, but I can see how it can be useful in PvE. The only problem is that it's very, it consumes a lot of astral power. So, I mean, you can keep this alive as long as you're constantly, using lunar strikes or whatnot to keep your power up. And when you combine that with something like, I believe it's Blessing of the Ancients, and you're in Blessing of Elune, and you're able to keep that lunar strike and get the 40% extra, so you have generating 14 astral power every 2.27 seconds, and try and keep that up for as long as possible and deal as much damage as possible. From Moonkins that I've seen in duels, this is what they're doing for their bursts, is they're basically using this to build up their astral power, and then they are from there they're using this to try and continue to using regular abilities to keep this up as long as possible, and that's the best thing that they can do. So as you can see, without Blessing of the Ancients, I can't really keep up very much with it, but the possibility is there for you to be able to do that. So that is everything with Balanced Druid PvE talents. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Honor talents, the PvP talents for a Balanced Druid. I cannot show these to you, as it requires me to be in a PvP setting, such as BGs, which take a very long time to get into. And it's also, I don't have very much control over my surroundings in a PvP setting, so it's hard to show you exactly what is going on. So I will list them all off from here. Do know that PvP has changed in World of Warcraft Legion. It is now changed to the point where you're going to be leveling up from 1 to all the way to 50, and you will gain abilities going down the left-hand side, and then the middle, and then the right-hand side. You will be gaining these abilities as you go through them to build them up. And like when you start with level 1, you'll start with the Gladiator's Medallion, and then when you get to level 50, you'll finally have Fairy Swarm, and then you can prestige and start all over again, just like Call of Duty. So that is the new PvP system and how it changes. If you don't want to prestige, you can just sit here at 50 and have all your talents sitting there ready for you. So let's go ahead and look at the first tier. This is the same across every class. You get an honorable medallion when you first start PvP in World of Warcraft Legion. It is a 3-minute cooldown trinket. You can replace that with this Gladiator's Medallion, which is a 2-minute cooldown trinket, which is like your basic trinket that you have. Other options open to you are Adaptation. All loss of control effects with a duration of 5 seconds or more will activate your honorable medallion spell, but only causes it to incur a 60-second cooldown. This is, I think, my personal favorite, but some people like actually having that control. Do you know that if you activate your honorable medallion by yourself, it will incur the 3-minute cooldown, and you won't be able to have the 60-second cooldown from Adaptation. The third ability is Relentless. It will replace your honorable medallion, which makes me think that this will only be taken by tanks, and it causes the duration of incoming crowd control effects to be reduced by 25%. On the second tier, this is kind of the mage or ranged balancing tier. First, you have your Train of Thought, damage increased by 15%. Being attacked will cancel this effect for 8 seconds. Mind Quickness increases haste by 6%. And Initiation, critical chance of your damaging abilities and attacks increase by 30% on targets at or above 80% health. Just like the melee classes, I believe this is going to be a kind of tier in which they can, as a whole, balance ranged classes if they need to. Getting into the specific balanced druid talents, looking at Protector of the Grove, using Healing Touch on an ally always critically heals and reduces the cast time of your Healing Touch by 50% for 6 seconds. So there's some team play opportunity there. Shape Mender. Each time you activate a shapeshift form, you are healed for 5% of your maximum health. This effect cannot occur more than once every 5 seconds. Excuse me there. So remember that shapeshifts do not cost any mana. So you want to heal up 20% mana in 20 seconds? Go for it. That's basically 1% of your maximum health every second. And you can do that just by constantly shapeshifting through the different forms with no mana cost to yourself. The last tier is Druid of the Claw. And I do believe that this one... Let me double check here. I'm going to switch to Restoration Affinity. No, it does not. So this is the same every single time. No matter what you do, this will always be the same. It is Druid of the Claw. While in bear form, your chance to be critically hit is reduced by an additional 10%. In addition, when hit by melee attacks, while in bear form, you have a 10% chance to cast Rejuvenation on yourself free of cost. This is one of the reasons why I kind of like having Guardian Affinity, is because you pop into a bear form, you have something like Druid of the Claw there, and then on top of that you could possibly get a Rejuvenation on you, and then you also have Frenzied Regeneration. So you got a lot of healing with bear form by taking a Guardian Affinity in PvP. In the next tier we have Prickling Thorns. When your Entangling Roots is removed, dispelled, or ends, the target will take 120,000 damage. It's actually a pretty decent amount. Just to give you an idea, your Lunar Strike hits for 75,000 damage. That's a pretty good dispel protection on Prickling Thorns to have, just so you know. Crescent Burn. Using Moonfire on a target already afflicted by Moonfire's damage over time deals 35% additional damage. This is kind of a chase down. They've implemented this several times. Blizzard in different forms. It's basically another version of Moonfire spam. If you're trying to get rid of someone, this is how you do it, is through Crescent Burn. Last ability in this tier is Celestial Downpour. Increases the damage of your Starfall by 30%. As if your Starfall wasn't increased enough already by different abilities, now it's really increased. Makes it really powerful and plays into that Starfall / dot playstyle that you can choose instead of the single target version. On the fifth tier, we have Touch of the Stars. Healing Touch generates 15 astral power. That's pretty powerful. However, do remember that Healing Touch does cost mana. This does not mean that it no longer costs mana, so you do have to be careful with that. Twin Moonfire. This plays in more to my Starfall playstyle. Whenever you Moonfire another nearby injured enemy within 40 yards of the target free of cost. Now, Twin Moonfire, that puts 2 Moonfires on your target, plus the Sunfire AoE effect, and all of those together will activate Shooting Stars, which will generate a boatload of astral power. The last ability here is Moonkin Aura. Whenever you Star Surge, all allies within 40 yards have their spell critical strike chance increased by 15% for 12 seconds. This can pretty much be indefinite. You should be able to easily get enough astral power, to be able to get a Star Surge every 12 seconds. So this basically gives you a permanent 15% increase in your critical strike chance with spells. In the last tier, we have what balanced druids desperately want back, and that is Cyclone. Tosses an enemy target in the air, disorienting them, making them invulnerable for up to 6 seconds. Only one target can be affected by your Cyclone at a time. I believe at one point Cyclone was undispellable. I do not know if it has become undispellable again. Now that is a talent, that is something that I have not tested and I'm not sure, but I would not put it out of the realm of possibility, because now you're going to have to burn a talent just to get Cyclone back. Summer Solstice reduces the cooldown of Solar Beam by 30 seconds. This is potent. Having a 30-second Solar Beam. I mean, just think about that. That means you basically have what, a 30% uptime on Solar Beam. That's pretty good. Definitely useful to have. So that's something you can grab instead of Cyclone. And then at the end we have Fairy Swarm, which used to be just a regular 45 talent, and now it's back in the PvP talent tree. Swarms a target with fairies, reducing the target's movement speed by 30% and chance to hit by 50%. So basically you have a kind of CC that affects both. You have one that more affects casters, and then you have one that affects melee more. So kind of you pick and choose your poison there on what you want to deal with and what you don't want to deal with. So that is everything for balanced druids. I am loving the direction that balanced druids are going in this film. Yes, I just killed a rabbit there. I'm loving the direction that balanced druids are going in this in Legion. I love the change to Starfall. I know a lot of people just like picking Starfall and letting it do all the work by itself without even having to target it. However, I'm a big sucker for particle effects and things that look pretty. And when you start having Starfall, and I've done some testing with Starfall and spreading moonfires and sunfires all over the place. It's pretty awesome. Just seeing all the damage you can do and how much it can spread just through that, and so it's a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are going to enjoy balanced druids. I think it's made a change for the better. I really did not like the yin yang system, and I'm glad that it's gone. Love this new astral power system. Otherwise, that is everything for balanced druids. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next Tearless Out. See ya.